Learn from my mistake. Are you tired of hearing the same old advice when it comes to real estate? Do you want to learn from the biggest and baddest mistakes in the industry? Then welcome to Learn from My Mistake, the podcast that brings you real estate professionals from all over, sharing the biggest blunders and how to avoid them. I'm one of your hosts, Jake Remillard, and I'm joined by my partner, Marie Baginski. We're here to give you the inside scoop on what not to do in the real estate game. From brokers to investors, we've got it all. We're not just here to tell you about our guest failures, though. We're here to help you learn from them so you can make the right moves when it counts. So buckle up and get ready to hear some juicy stories and expert advice you won't find anywhere else. This is Learn from My Mistake. New episodes drop every week. Don't miss out. Learn from my
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Learn from My Mistake is back after a brief hiatus for episode 653 with amazing guest Patrick White and my co-host Marie Baginski. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Episode 653, a little exaggeration there.
Is it? Is it not?
We used to have it as like part of the name, and I felt that number, so buy a lottery ticket today, use that number, give me 20%.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh. You're right. I'm excited, Patrick. We just met a couple months ago at a live event. I got to say, you were one of the most engaged, active people learning at this event, and that impressed me a lot. So for anyone who doesn't know you, just give us kind of like the brief background, right? Who is Patrick White and how did you become a real estate investor?
Awesome. Yeah, and I appreciate the invite. So my name's Patrick White. I'm from Savannah, Georgia originally. Joined the Army, went all over the place for basic AIT, landed at Fort Liberty, did my contract here. About halfway through, I started researching what I wanted to do when I got out because I knew that I wasn't staying in. And so I kind of went through the rigmarole that I feel like entrepreneurs go through. So I was looking at cryptocurrency. Like, what if I get into drop shipping? I can do drop shipping. And that didn't work out. Started day trading. I lost an ungodly amount of money in day trading. Right. And then I was like, okay, that's not for me. And then towards like maybe the third quarter of my contract, I was on leave. And my Uncle Don owns a real estate firm on Sea Island, Georgia. And he said, Patrick, now's the time to get into real estate. You do not want to miss out, please. And I said, okay, you know what? I kind of let it slip because I hadn't thought too much about real estate at that point somehow. And then I came across Bigger Pockets, and Bigger Pockets is what turned everything upside down. I was like, oh my God, I love Robert Kiyosaki. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I went through the whole thing, yeah.
You got one of his books right here.
Exactly. Did my Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, started going through kind of like the self-improvement journey that I feel like a lot of us get on.
Oh, of course.
Got my license in Georgia when I was getting ready to get out of the Army. They allowed me to intern with the local firm. I was like, holy mackerel, the Fayetteville market is where I want to be. It's super investor heavy. I want to stay here. And so, did my little bit as a retail agent. And then I realized, why am I doing this? This isn't getting me any closer to my goals.
Yeah.
Transitioned, became a Bigger Pockets agent, started doing some fix and flips and investing and kind of now branched into some wholesaling as well.
Okay, so just to touch base, simple things, just sometimes there's newbies on here. So when you say you got your license, you're talking about your real estate license, right? You became a licensed agent.
Correct.
What kind of firm did you start out with, just out of curiosity, as an agent?
So I called every firm in Fayetteville just about and said, hey, free work. I will make your coffee. I will do your paperwork. I will shine your shoes. Please let me work. And nobody would pick me up. And then
as a real estate agent, you're talking about.
Correct. So I was looking for a firm to intern with, right? And so I'm calling and trying to get on with all these firms. Nobody wants to pick me up. And then a buddy of mine said, hey, my real estate agent was a really nice guy. He owns a firm. You should try giving him a call. This is Nicholas Iberger, owner of On It Realty Group.
Okay.
And so I reached out to him and no hesitation. He was like, come up and we'll sign today. I was like, wow.
Nice.
So,
This is through
yeah.
TSP?
Yeah, CSP, Career Skills Program.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yep. So yeah, they for those of you that don't know, the Army allows a little like 180-day window for you to go and intern or maybe start looking at colleges, basically preparing for civilian life.
Yeah.
And so that's where I got the opportunity to go intern with the firm.
Fantastic. I think offline we'll probably pick your brain about that, because that's actually something that we've had like as a rock for our company for a while, to get that kind of source, because we have more opportunities for people now. So we're trying to like bring them in. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about that offline. I don't think it's too niche, I think, for the general viewers of this podcast. I don't want to subject them to that. But that's awesome. And I think you touched on a pretty good point there that maybe you can expand on. You talked about how every entrepreneur kind of goes through this journey of like self-improvement and like trying all these things out, and the shiny object syndrome and everything. What were some fuck ups that you had early on while you were experiencing all of that you think people should avoid?
The girl in the red dress, right? So you're sitting here like this, and then you get a peek and you're like, oh, what do they got going on over there? And so same thing like shiny object syndrome. You see something that just appears golden, and then you go give it a shot, and it's either not what it appeared to be, or you're not dedicated and committed enough to stick through the rough parts of that industry or that niche or whatever it is that it might be. Yeah. So as far as going back to like when I was in the Army and I was looking around, that's the problem that I had, was the girl in the red dress. They'd walk past me all the time, and I would get sidetracked and focus on that. Whereas when I got into real estate, I can't say for sure what the aspect was that made me lock in and say, okay, this is what it's going to be. But I did. I locked in, and it's played out very nicely for me. And I can't say for sure if I would have locked in the same way that I did with real estate, with drop shipping or cryptocurrency or day trading, that I couldn't, have been more successful in that realm. But it just so happened that I got into real estate, and that's when, I had tunnel vision, and I was like, okay, this is it.
So, do you think it had anything to do with the mentorship and the willingness of the owner of On It Realty to like really bring you on board like that?
I believe so. Seeing real life application, and it's more, real estate is more fitting, I feel like, for my personality type, and I'm more drawn to the industry. So that definitely had a role in it. But probably having that mentor, Nick, he was already doing fix and flips, and I was like, oh, wow, this is what I either listen to every day on the Bigger Pockets podcast. This is phenomenal. And so it drew me in a little bit more. And I was planning on going back to Georgia, but decided to stay here. So that, I would say, yeah, you hit it right there.
Nice. We've talked to a lot of people. I mean, this is season 2 of this podcast, and there's just like been this overarching theme of people that discuss like the effects of mentorship on success. It's not like the thing. Like, you can certainly be successful without mentorship or paying for these programs or anything like that, but it has come up time and time again. So it's no surprise.
Yeah. And I got to thinking about this the other day. Marie mentioned in the beginning of the podcast that we went to a live event together. Y'all invited me you invited me to Investor Harvest. So happy that I went. Extremely happy that I went. I should be wearing my merch right now. But like, it's kind of crazy how things work, because I went there, and when I left, the second that I left, I picked up a lead through my website. My flip went under contract. I got another deal. Like, it's almost like I paid for some education, spoke with y'all, made some connections, and then just like the stars started aligning, and like I don't know. And I don't want to say that's all because of the mentorship, but it's just funny how things work.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the times it's just that focus, right? That focused attention. You get dialed in on exactly what you're looking for, right? You put the intentional effort behind something. And then, you're like, wait a minute.
Like, hey, let's
absolutely.
Let's throw him some brownies.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. So you leave the military, you try these different things, you get settled in with On It. I know what you're doing now, but what have you done let's take this maybe chapter by chapter. So let's go from you were new realtor / wanting to be investor, Patrick. What happened? How did you progress?
Yeah, so luckily I got onto Onnit Realty Group with Nick, and I don't know if I'm letting out any sauce. I don't think it's any sauce, but he pays he pays an ungodly amount in Zillow leads, right? And so I got into real estate, or got my license, got settled at the firm, and I had my sphere of influence, which was the battery, while I was in the Army, or my unit. And then Zillow phones, which Nick was paying for. And, he just required a split to be paid if you closed a Zillow lead. So that kind of took my business afloat for a while.
I would assume this is like retail.
All retail.
Yeah.
All retail. And then, things were going really well. I was doing at least, 3 to 5 closings a month. So, I was honestly, I was shocked myself, starting as a new agent, because I'd read on Reddit that everybody was someone that months and looking on Quora and all kind of stuff. And I was a little worried, but it turned out phenomenally. And then around February of 2023, I was paying for realtor.com leads, and they weren't working out very well for me. And I said, you know what? I got into this because I wanted to get into investing, but I made no progression toward investing.
Mm-hmm.
So let me start being proactive and working towards my goals, and actually right now I'm just still in a float, whereas I want to start progressing towards the end game, right? Or the end goal.
Right.
And so, coincidentally, Bigger Pockets reached out to me and said, hey, you're an active member in the forums. You're constantly on. Would you like to buy a lead bundle? And I was like, okay, now I can, make this transition, start working strictly with investors, cut out the retail side, start building connections and helping investors. And I actually skipped over like a pivotal moment in my career, which is when I partnered with my broker in charge on a flip. Right. So I partnered with Nick on a flip over off of Ramsey Street. Right. And so I got the feel of actually doing a flip. I was only a capital partner and got a little bit of money back. It wasn't anything crazy, but nonetheless, I still consider it, as one of my flips, because I went through and helped him with the renovation and everything. So, all right, now fast back forward, got the Bigger Pocket leads. It's about 25 leads a month for $1,500. Decided to get off of the Zillow phone. So I stopped taking Zillow phone calls and wanted to focus solely on working with these investors. And everything from long-term rental investors, midterm rental, Airbnb investors, but predominantly fix and flip investors is where it was kind of the epicenter of my business. Mm-hmm. So I'd get a Bigger Pockets lead in, and the description would say, hey, looking to do a fix and flip in Fayetteville. And so immediately I would begin, searching for deals, underwriting the deals, find the deal, underwrite the deal, send it to my investor, say, hey, yes or no. Do you like these numbers? Do you want me to go out and get a formal bid, or are you okay with me getting a bid through the pictures? If they decided that they liked it, I'd put them in touch with my hard money lender. They'd secure financing. We'd close. I'd project manage and then list it up on the market. And I was like, hey, I really enjoy doing this. And so, that pretty much became the flow of my business, predominantly fix and flips for other investors, and then the occasional long-term rental investor or investors from these other, strategies or investment philosophies.
Love it. Two things there I want to point out just for anybody listening, and then to kind of pat you on the back. One is just consistent action, right? It sounds like consistent action and staying involved in that Bigger Pockets community really opened that door for you. I love Bigger Pockets. I got into it early on as well. But I was more of a sidelines, just kind of scrolling through the threads, not really actively contributing. So I don't know what the qualifications were there, but good on you for staying involved and getting that call. And then just understanding when it's time to capitalize on an opportunity. Right. I think there's so many people that even if you are involved in the forums and everything, when opportunity knocks, right, you have to jump on it. You have to recognize it, because if you don't, right, it's cliche, it's cheesy, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
100% though.
But you don't, right? It's exactly right. There's a reason why everybody says it. So good on you for that. Now, you mentioned also something about, which I like, and I think this is something other people could maybe explore for themselves, is getting, the leads and everything, connecting them. But you were saying that you're actually doing project management as a realtor, as somebody that they're already working with and they trust, right? You're doing this project management for them. So what are some things that maybe have gone wrong on that side of things that you would do differently? I'm sure you've learned some great lessons there.
Yeah. The first one that I want to say is over promising. And this is just from a realtor standpoint. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be out there 3 times a week. You let me know what needs to be done, and it's going to happen. And my schedule is very busy. And so, and I stay completely transparent with all my clients. I've let them know, I'm speaking to one experience in particular where I was, where I said that verbatim. I'm going to be out there weekly, and it just ended up not playing out that way because my schedule was just so demanding. And then speaking from the project management standpoint, it's hard to say it's hard to point out a lesson in particular because each investor has different standards and it's so subjective. One investor might say, hey, let's get a home inspection. Let's get a home inspection before we close. Whereas another investor might say, we're going to close on it and rehab it anyways. What's the point of getting an inspection? Right. And it's bitten me in the ass a few times because I'll start treating one investor as if he's this other investor, and then they don't like the way that I handle the predicament. I'm being extremely transparent right now. We had a flip over off of Ramsey, and it was this investor's first time doing a flip, and we didn't get an inspection. We did the rehab, got an offer, all cash, over asking. Woo, hippie whippy. We'd been on the market for like 30 days, and I think it's because we had a half bath. Nonetheless, the inspection came back, and they had all aluminum wiring, and then there were multiple trusses that were compromised in the attic. And the investor is not going to look to the contractor. The investor is going to look to me and say, Patrick, what the fuck? So that was. And it's not a particular lesson, but know when to pivot and when to assess an issue based on the cards you're dealt, right?
I'm trying so hard not to make a Kenny Loggins reference right now. You got to know when to hold them and know when to
fold them. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you for helping me with that.
So I wanted, how did that one end up? Was there all new wiring needed? I want to know what the outcome of that was.
So for anybody that doesn't know, around 1970, there was a big copper shortage. A lot of homes got put aluminum in them. There's nothing wrong with aluminum as long as the aluminum is tight to the fixtures, right? When it becomes an issue is when these fixtures loosen up. Aluminum is just a more, flammable
fire hazard.
Material. Yeah, it's a higher fire hazard once they loosen up. So what we could have done is, I contacted my electrician about it and told the buyer's agent, hey, I'm going to have my electrician come out and take a look at it. He's going to let us know if we have a serious problem or not. The buyers didn't give us a chance. They said, peace out. This is our retirement home. We don't even want a chance. So, buyers backed out, and the rest is history.
So, I would just, sorry, real quick. For anybody that's listening to this, if you're going to get into your first flip, spend the $300 and just get the inspection.
Absolutely.
Just I don't care what anybody tells you. If you listen to this podcast or if this affects anybody, that's so valuable. So just spend $300 to get all those unknowns out of the way early on.
Correct. Don't nickel and dime it.
Yeah.
So
sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. You didn't cut me off. But yeah, that's know when to hold them and know when to fold them, and get an inspection if it's your first flip.
So Patrick, I have a question for you. So now you're a Bigger Pockets agent, right? So you work with all these investors on Bigger Pockets. Are you marketing for deals, or are you just looking off MLS deals? Like, are you working with local wholesalers, or are you marketing for deals? What's your lead source?
So rewind last year, I started doing fix and flips for investors, and it picked up relatively quickly. I think we've done somewhere around 18 flips, I believe, from last year to now. So I was working with a lot of wholesalers. I got to develop an intimate relationship with a bunch of wholesalers locally, Facebook groups, Investor Lift. Gotcha. Some wholesalers throw the deals on market. And so that's where I was sourcing majority of my deals. I think we've done 2 flips that were on market. Sometimes you can find hidden gems. Yep. It's very time consuming because I go in and I personally manually underwrite every deal that I look at. Wow. So going through, 300 listings and going back and forth between tabs can be very time consuming, but every now and then you'll find a gem on market. And just going into another point is being on the buy side of all these wholesale deals, I started to realize, wow, these wholesalers are making a killing. They're making a killing. And that kind of started the snowball of me researching wholesaling on YouTube. I bought a book, The Millionaire Wholesaler by James Hodges, which is actually a really good read for anybody listening. It's a very cheap book on Amazon. Anybody's looking to get into wholesaling. Really good read. Anyways, nonetheless, the point of me saying that was that's what kind of got me getting the ball rolling with wholesaling, and now I'm sourcing some of these deals myself.
Nice. Now, are you also managing your own fix and flips, or only for other investors? Like, are you taking them at? You're taking down your own on your own?
Yeah, but with me, I'm very, what's the word for it? I don't want to say nonchalant, but I have a different level of trust with my contractors.
So are you very hands off with your renovation?
Very hands off with my own. Very hands off. I'm less worried about it.
I'm sure you're conservative with your underwriting, so you know that there's a lot of meat on the bone, very good spread.
I'm more quality over quantity. I'm not trying to do 5 flips at one time and net, 15 each. If I find one that's got a lot of meat on the bones, I don't hesitate to jump on it. I'd rather do 3 in a year that net me, 50, 60 grand than have all my capital tied up all the time doing like 3 or 4 at once. That's just like my personal investment philosophy. So
question for you with and some of our listeners, maybe anybody that's like an agent as well as wanting to get into the investment side, what do you do as far as your listings? Are you representing your own listings? Are you doing that at flat fee? Are you removing your commission from it to fatten the deal? How do you underwrite the deal when you're a realtor?
So I actually created a calculator that's fit directly with my hard money lender, which is Longhorn Investments. Mm-hmm. So I go through and underwrite the acquisition, how much it's going to cost to purchase, all the closing costs, every down to the last detail, excise tax, prorated taxes, buyer, seller closing costs, and then I map out the holding costs, how much it's going to cost me, estimated to hold it over 6 months. I always bank on 6 months because I try to be super conservative. And then if we close sooner, better. If the project gets done in 4 to 8 weeks, fantastic. Let's throw it up on the market. And then for the sales side, I don't do a commission for myself, just buyer's agent, 2.5%.
Yep.
And then I always budget $3,000 for the DDRA, or due diligence request and agreement. For those that don't know, when you're under contract to purchase a house, you get a home inspection, and then you use that home inspection as a tool for negotiation to get the seller to fix certain items or give you a credit, whatever it is that it might be. We typically don't go over $3,000, but I like to have that buffer room in there for, in case.
Yep.
So awesome. That's how I'm looking at them. And then for my for the investors that I manage the flips for, I have one investor that I've been working with for a while, and we've done multiple flips together. I do 4% for him. So 2.5% buy side, 2.5% sell side, or 2% buy and sell side, And then some of the newer investors I have, it's still 5%.
Nice.
And
But
you're
it's the same break.
guessing management flat fee or percentage, or are we
No
not
fee.
getting into that?
Fee.
No fee.
Yeah.
You're gonna get some phone calls, my friend. We have
Yes.
to shut this thing down, edit that out.
Right. So I've talked with a few other entrepreneurs in the industry about it, and they're like, "Man, why aren't you charging a project management fee?" And I just try to be as genuine as possible with my business, and anything I can do to help put some more money in my investor's pocket, I'm going to do. My time will come. The money's coming.
Let me ask you this. Do you think if you were charging a fee and you had some fiduciary responsibility, you would perform a higher level of service?
I think so, but that's not where I'm looking to go with the business.
Yeah.
I think so. I believe so. I still would say that I am delivering without any fee. I still am out there. The case that I was talking about where I overpromised was definitely one of the busiest times in my life. I was so busy. I was doing I did a flip hands-on. My personal opinion, terrible idea. It's fun and it sounds cute. My wife was like, yeah, let's do it hands-on. And oh man, let me tell y'all, that's a fuck up. So I was doing that. I was managing 3 other flips. I had a couple of houses under contract and I was just all over the place. So that definitely was an exception. I still regularly, I'm probably going out maybe once a week, maybe 3 times in a month and checking in, and there's constant communication with the contractor and the investor on, what they want to do. Cause obviously they want to add their own personal twist to the flip, right? And they want it to look like what they envision. So, but I think if I did charge a project management fee, it would definitely be dialed in. The system would be dialed in. There'd be a lot more to go with the service for sure.
Yeah, because at this point, are you still a one-man show?
I am a one-man show, and it needs to change.
Okay.
Most definitely. As far as the wholesaling side of things goes, I hired my first VA. They're dialing for me. I have an agent that I'm training right now. He's doing some work for me. I hired a TC to be I hired a TC on the agent side of things last year. And this is a problem on my own. I do things a particular type of way, and I didn't take the time to train up this TC to be a second me, and it bit me in the ass. And I instead of training her, because she works with multiple other agents too, instead of training her to do things the way that I liked them, I said, "Hey, I just don't think we're a good fit. I appreciate all the help you've given me, but." And we parted ways. So that was a mistake. And I'm actually looking for a transaction coordinator right now. So anybody watching that's looking for a position of the sort that wants to work with investors and maybe get some hands-on and learn as well, please reach out to me.
Nice. Well, I mean, I think that's an incredibly important fuck up that you mentioned. And I'm just calling it that because it's the name of the show, not a jab at you. But the training, I've seen it time and time again, especially just with Investor Harvest and even with some of the other programs is, people think you have to be careful, especially with VAs. There's a lot of companies out there. They're like, oh, they're trained to do everything. They can do everything. They're all trained in real estate and stuff. And then you get them and, you kind of just give them your procedures real quick. You might spend a day or 2 training them, and then you set them loose, and then a month later you're like, everything's going to shit, nothing's happening right. But in all actuality, any other job that you've ever been hired into, or the military specifically, right? Like, how much time do they spend onboarding you, right? There's the SOPs, the aspect of it. There's the video training, whatever that you have to watch, and then there's job shadowing and all that stuff. And I think a lot of people just underestimate that consistently when it comes to hiring, and it's 100%.
100%. The military has such a good model for it. If you can just translate that into entrepreneurship, I feel like you're golden.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We do. And Allura Homes, the model is, aside from shipping them off to basic and AIT, it's very, I counsel all my guys 4856, let's go monthly. But
I
yeah,
feel like your commander and Marie's first sergeant. I feel like Marie might be a little bit more.
I think it's well, based on my experience with a first sergeant and a commander, it's a little bit more flip flop.
Okay. That
okay, now I'm lost. Now I'm lost. Now explain the first commander versus.
Yeah, go.
Dad and mom. First sergeant's dad. He's like, "Hey, motherfucker! Like you did a terrible job. Fucking get your shit together." And the mom's like, "You did excellent, baby. Great job. I'm so proud of you."
Yeah, see, so interesting. This is why I said opposite experience, because I think, and maybe it's just because like support, different mentality, right? So, and I don't know that, but it's just the commanders and the first sergeants that I've had. My first sergeants were always very much like with the guys, just like, hey, let's take a knee. We're going to figure this out. The commanders were the ones that were like, get it fucking done.
No, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm the get it fucking done one, and Jake's
That's
like,
what I thought.
Let me show you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm like, figure it the fuck out. It's not rocket science. We're not reinventing the wheel. Like, let's go, figure it out, get it done. Show me the KPIs. If it's not working, fix it. Like,
and Jake's like, hey, you're doing a good job. Listen, you just need to dial this in, and you need to do your thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Jake's much more the every day-to-day role model and mentor. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on?
It's a good balance though, for sure. It works really well.
Good deal.
Yeah, I've been told now by several of our employees, Patrick, that I'm intimidating. Is literally the word that I'm intimidating. So, all right. So we're wrapping up here. We're about 30 minutes into this. So Jake, this is where I cue you for any final questions that you might have for Patrick to share.
I do. So and maybe I'm a weirdo here, but I don't follow any sports teams, right? Guys are always, we're hanging out in the bar or whatever, like, oh, did you see the Bills the other day? I'm like, no, I didn't. I don't have time, right? That's what it comes down to. It's not that I don't enjoy watching them, but I follow entrepreneurs like other people follow sports teams, right? So I have like favorite entrepreneurs that I'm rooting for, or people that I'm watching, like what they're doing, because I'm going to pull pieces of that into the business. So I'm going to ask you, like, who are some of your favorite entrepreneurs right now and why?
Okay. This is number one, just because it's applicable to all industries.
I think I know where you're going. I guarantee it.
Explained in a way to where I can bring my toddler to watch him, and she's going to understand. Alex Hormozi.
I knew it. Yeah,
I love Alex Hormozi.
Of course.
If I see him, I'm going to give him a hug. Like, and it's, I have all these people that I follow in the real estate industry, of course. Tony Mott, Eric Klein, the owner of Investor Lift. I watch a little bit of Jerry Norton, Real Estate Disruptors, all that good jazz. I love it. Bigger Pockets. But nobody explains it in a way that Alex Hormozi does and makes you feel like a dumbass, like it's been obvious the entire time. He says something, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I know that already,
Yeah.
So definitely Alex Hormozi. I like Eric Klein a lot. I'm not a big fan of their sales process, just personally, but I like Eric Klein a lot. Let's see. Alex Hormozi is definitely number one. Aside from Alex Hormozi, the Bigger Pockets, I've listened to a lot of self-improvement stuff, read a lot of self-improvement books. So a lot of corny David Goggins type material, Jocko. There's this British guy who does a podcast, and every single one that he does is phenomenal. But yeah, I'm putting Alex Hormozi at the top of the tier list for sure, because it's applicable to any industry. So for our viewers that aren't in the real estate industry, they're just an entrepreneur, go listen to Alex Hormozi, go buy one of his books, and it's life-changing material. It really is. I like it. Thinking of a dollar value to equate to what you get with all of his content, I couldn't put a number on it.
Yeah. And you make a good point too. It's broken down. It's not even that he's trying to break it down in like layman's terms. It's just that it really is that simple. You're just overcomplicating it.
100%. I feel like a lot of new entrepreneurs just overthink the shit out of it. And even with my reps as a realtor, I've gotten really accustomed to entrepreneurship, and I got a nice flow of things. Even breaking into wholesaling and trying to start an industry in wholesaling, I'm still making a lot of the same fuck ups that when I, originally made. I'm still overthinking it. Here's a big fuck up. I know we got to wrap up. If you're getting into wholesaling or an industry within real estate, some aspect or dialect of real estate, try to run your business organically without any paid services initially. I'm breaking into wholesaling, and I set what I'd consider a large amount of money, a decent amount of money into an account, and said, this is going to be my wholesaling account. Let's start paying for leads. Let me pay for all these softwares. All the money is gone in like a matter of a month and a half. And I'm like, whoa, what did I do?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that in there as well.
That's a good one. I think you definitely, lead flow is key though. Lead flow is key. So if you have a pipeline, or you can create that lead flow for yourself without that, those funds, then yeah, sure, all day. But if you don't have that time or the availability to door knock or dial or anything like that, I do think there is a place just for some of the quick pay-per-lead services or something like that. But that's a loaded question. Anyway, Patrick, thank you so much for sharing and kind of pulling the curtain back on some stuff and being really candid about your processes and everything. Been a wonderful guest. I'd love to have you back on maybe in a year or two and see what you're doing then.
Yeah.
For anyone who wants to invest in Fayetteville that doesn't want to work with Jake and I for some reason, but wants to work with Patrick, just let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Just search me up on Facebook, Patrick White. I'm over here in Fayetteville. My number's in my bio, so you can reach out to me personally. I always pick up. I'm up early in the morning, and I go to bed late at night because I got kids. So reach out to me, and if I don't get back to you immediately, it'll be within the day.
Nice. Very nice. Well, awesome. Again, I appreciate it. Patrick, Jake, great episode. This is like the piece.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can do it like this because it's like Pace Morby's thing now. So
is it?